Oh, I wanted it to keep going.
Holy Grail, riding the horse. Dude, amazing
Coconut.
intro. Intro
you,
was
thank you.
awesome, bro. Thanks for making that.
Yeah, of course. It's fun. I like doing it.
Let's give it up. Let's give it up to Roaming Bandits again. Roman for the music. Dude,
Thank you, brother.
you're like, hey, I tweaked it a little bit. I'm like, hey, can you move the bottle, do this? And you're like, haven't we done that? And you're like, no, let me do this. And you threw a whole new thing at us. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's the same song, but different part. We
So
start
welcome.
with a caw at the beginning instead.
I did. I heard the caw in the beginning. Welcome, everybody. We started with a handful of people already online waiting for us. So thank you so much for joining us right off the bat. You got to see Jason's awesome intro. If you don't see it, wait till the end, because at the end, we have the outro, which is the same as the intro. So Jason, give us your stuff, man. This is Jason down here.
Yo, I'm Jason. Drop the Max podcast. You guys might have seen me doing a little live thing in the mornings. Anarcho-caffeinated, ANCAF for short. Very clever. I know. You don't have to keep telling me how clever and great I am. But yeah, check it out. It's been fun.
At Drop the Mask Pod.
That's right. X. Live on X and Rumble. Maybe I'll get around to getting the other streaming platforms on there. I don't know.
All right. So welcome, everybody. We have had a crazy week already. We're already up to 10 people, by the way. And everyone is talking about the woke right. We're going to get there. But Jason, this morning, is this your wife? Your wife saw something out in the wild today. Yes. I just had to put this up. Tell us about it.
Yeah, she sent me this picture this morning just out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, nice. She was out in the world. I was working from home. I didn't go anywhere.
Perfect. So just so everyone knows, right there, right in the middle there, that's what we think. So welcome.
Welcome to Arizona.
All right, man. So what's going on?
Said welcome to Arizona.
Welcome to
Arizona.
It's
the kind of thing you see around here.
Yeah, it's definitely see that. I don't like the second sticker on the back. I like the one up the top across.
Yeah, the ATF.
But it's pretty funny. You're just goating people. And Arizona is a shoot first, ask questions last type of state, by the way. So if no one knows this, in Mesa, Arizona, a guy was shot at with a baby in the back because he stole a 30-pack of beer. 30-pack of beer was shot at. I've got the article. It's like, okay, great, good job. So just think about how we do that. Cops rule. Not,
It's also where Daniel Shaver was killed. Inside a La Quinta hotel.
Yep.
All right.
Also, where the guy from Hogan's Heroes was killed in Scottsdale. Mysterious murder. Bob Crane.
I did not know that.
Yeah, long story. So, all right. So, look at this. What a beautiful entrance. Aaron. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I do appreciate it. No matter how many times people say it, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
And the beautiful thing is, if they don't tell you, I'm very certain that you will tell them. Don't you think?
I don't have to. People just say it, but I already know.
Right, man. So we have had a crazy week? Is it only a week or are we at 2 weeks? How long has this been now?
It has been. You're talking about the Smith Murray.
Yeah.
It's been 10 days.
I'm exhausted.
And people are still talking about it. This is crazy. Nothing in the news lasts this long.
I've never seen this. And we're seeing another palpable shift within the shift. And I think, once again, we talked about this in December. I mean, we warned about it before the election that this momentum pendulum, whatever, was swinging. And we wanted to get it some kind of start to stopping it before it went, once again, through the middle. And I think even Lindsay talks about pendulum. It's like, yeah, it is. But, once again, it is a pendulum for a reason. And we got to, anyway. So 10 days. I'm exhausted.
Even a broken pendulum is retarded twice a day.
Even
that's
4
what
times,
they say,
maybe.
Right?
Yeah. Right. So how would we like to start this today, man? Because we have like 82 clips. We've got so much stuff, and the chat is open, everybody. So please, join us.
So we did an episode about the woke right. We actually did talk about this Smith versus Murray a little bit with William in our previous 10 days ago episode, because I think it
Oh
came
my
out
gosh,
that
what
day.
did we actually talk about it then?
Yep. But people will not let this go, right? It's everywhere. It's been constant responses to responses and people talking about it, and Dave Smith responding directly to Douglas Murray, who wrote an article about the interview. It's been everywhere, right? So we actually did an episode on the woke right a long time ago, long time ago. Really not that long ago, but I think it was our first one, our first.
It was, yeah, December
consciously
24th, I
unmasked.
think. Yeah. There was December 26th, I think, something like that. But it was like literally 4 months, like 4 months ago.
And this will be good because that one, the video got screwed up, if you remember. So my audio was totally out of sync with my video. And so if you go watch that one, it's going to be messy, but you can still listen to it. The sound's fine.
And I think, is that the one where they pulled mine because I said something about this thing where the thing you can't talk about on YouTube, I think.
I don't know,
So
man. I feel like we talk about that almost every time.
We do. But it's the one where I actually had an opinion, and then they said that I'm not allowed to have an opinion. And they said, for stating an opinion, we're going to pull your video.
Well, you're not an expert on it. That's why.
Well, I haven't been inside the blood vessels. Have you been there?
Have you been to the World Health Organization?
The tiny, the smallest kind of vessels. You think I'm going to be there? All right. So it's been crazy. And once again, so to your point, we've got Douglas Murray and Dave Smith go on Joe Rogan and they talk. And admittedly, and I don't care what anyone says, Dave didn't win a thing. Douglas Murray made an absolute fool of himself with the debate tactics that he tried to pull. It was an embarrassment. It had nothing. It wasn't even Dave. And Dave held his own, but not a single topic was addressed. So right after that, an op-ed by Konstantin Kisin, then an op-ed by Douglas Murray, then an op-ed by James Lindsay, then Dave Rubin jumps in, then Ben Shapiro jumps in with, and you're just like, whoa, what's going on here? What's happening? And I've got a connection to it. I think we're going to get there as well. Mm-hmm. But it seems like, okay, there was a bifurcation within the right as it took over. Mm-hmm. There already was. There was an anti-war right, which was the majority of this new thing that there's an anti-war thing that really was behind Trump. And there's a bifurcated inside of that. There's this group of people that we're going to talk about who are accusing everyone else of being woke right. Isn't that funny? They're the accusers. Once again, mm-hmm. It's almost like the last 4 years. It's like Groundhog Day. And I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of over this. And I hate saying that we knew it and then it happened, right?
It just makes no sense. Yeah, to call Dave Smith woke right is ridiculous. I can sort of see what he's talking about with people who just blame everything on Israel, but that is completely not the case in this situation, right?
Yeah, he actually doesn't make any connections to Israel. He simply says we shouldn't fund the slaughtering of women and children in Gaza. Mm-hmm. That's all he said. And say this, what's beautiful about this is the debate tactics. I shared a clip with Clint Russell, and it was about the thing about I'm waiting for Dave to apologize because Trump's going to invade Iran. Right? Remember we talked about how they compelled me to kind of convince me to kind of vote no to this year, or the last election. But this is great. Clint actually responded to the tweet with, "Hey, here, point 1, point 2, point." He addressed everything within the thing. I've not seen Douglas Murray, Konstantin Kisin, or any of these guys address actual point by point anything that was said. Yet someone like Clint Russell, who doesn't know me from Adam, saw that there was a healthy discourse or criticism, or healthy criticism, and he addressed it. Right? That's how you do it. It's pretty remarkably impressive.
Yeah, and of course, what Douglas did was just be visibly annoyed that he even had to share any space with Dave Smith. Yeah, anyone who would think that Daryl Cooper, this non-expert, would have anything to say at all.
I think and I didn't clip it, but it was like, Joe, what are you doing? What are you even doing now? How have you become such a mess in such a short time. And you're like, what, bro? You're calling. So
He hasn't changed. I don't think Joe Rogan has changed. Do you?
no. So no, Joe Rogan's genuine as all get out. And please welcome, Justin. We're going to get there, man. We're going to get there. I promise.
Yes, yes. We will talk about woke right. We can actually do that right now because, like I was saying, we did an episode about this a few months ago. We talked about what woke right means. You said something like people who know it all in their perspective of their ideology, like they filter every answer through that ideology. And then I added like it's usually in race or gender or some kind of class struggle category, right? And really, all the roads lead to James Lindsay. All these woke right roads lead to James Lindsay. He's really, really trying to make this happen. It's like in Mean Girls when that one girl like keeps trying to make fetch a thing. Like that's so fetch. This is so woke right. That's James Lindsay.
He did throw the first volleys and it didn't make sense. He and Kissen, it's like, hey guys, we don't like a group within our group. How are we going to get them? Hey, let's call them exactly what we called the enemy's last 4 years. We will just call it the woke right, the woke left. And it's so fucking transparent to me. It's so see-through. And what's even funnier is the tactics that the people calling us the woke right or calling whoever the woke right are actually the woke right tactics. They're actually tactics of the woke. So Justin, great question about what it is. I'm going to pull up the first video, but I like you to introduce it on, and we're not going to get there yet, but obviously we just want to get started and get rolling here.
Yeah, just a little bit more on the woke right. Like Lindsay has some definitions. He says that it's being awakened to some kind of critical consciousness, and he uses that verbiage from the what do you call it? Critical race theories or that kind of thing. It's the verbiage that those people use. So critical consciousness. So you're conscious of some oppressive structure. And so he's trying to apply that to the Israel situation, saying that, oh, everyone sees Israel as the oppressor and they cause all the problems in both the Middle East and the United States, which some people do say that. Not to say they don't cause any problems, but yeah, it's not everything.
Influence at minimum, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of thinking there's a structural oppression or injustice that maybe is not fully visible on the surface, which by itself I think is not necessarily wrong, but it's usually too rigid. So you start to put everything in the same box, including things that don't fit, right? That's where it goes wrong. And then usually it comes with some kind of action where you want to stop people from doing something, which is usually speaking, free speech. You don't want people to be platformed. You don't want people to be able to express these ideas, even if they're right, because you're not trying to get to reality. You're trying to fit reality inside an ideological box rather than expanding your ideology to understand reality. That's what I would say woke is. And woke right is kind of applying the woke stuff to more right-wing traditional ideologies. Oh, you're muted.
Just to tell you how hot button topic this is, we've got 40 people on, Jason, and we're 10 minutes in, man. There's already 40 people on. So seriously, like this is definitely on fire because you and I don't have that huge of a presence, but it's like woke right just you can, if you muted that, you wouldn't have a single thing on your Twitter right now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, right.
And that's the crazy thing. You're saying Lindsay, the same thing. He's like, well, they're using these tactics. Like, wait a minute. If you see everything as, then you're what? It's like, it's so funny. Once again, is your accusers or the actual people doing it accusing you of doing the thing they're doing, right?
And Jesse's here. What's up, Jesse?
Yeah,
he said, I don't agree that Lindsay is woke right. He was never really right. He's still a classical liberal type. Yeah, definitely. Very liberal.
Definitely so. And once again, he was one of those guys. And if people don't know who James Lindsay is, James Lindsay's the one that talked about rape culture in dogs or something at dog parks. He's the one who wrote that science. And this is the point. Yeah. How many lefties got thrown out by the Democrats? The progressives threw them out. That's this group that voted for Trump or whatever this other group is. It's just not them. It's not like it's a cohesive group over here, guys. It's just not whatever they were doing. And they overplayed their hand and now they're suffering. But now we need to really get on top of this because this is getting out of hand already.
Yeah. We shared a clip last time of Orrin McIntyre. He said it really well, something like James Lindsay wasn't ever really right. He's one of those the left me guys, and he didn't really change. Just the left did go crazy, but he's still a lefty,
Right. I mean, RFK, Tulsi, these are not right-wing people. Elon, these are progressive open-minded thinkers. They're different. They're not. It's so funny how it's like the Democrats so fucked up that everyone who's not them is just not with them at all. And now they have to kind of salvage this. But look, now look what's happening. We're overplaying this hand, right? And and once again, we'll get to why this is happening. I think there's a central point here. So, but do you want to share that as well before we continue, sir?
Yeah, another great comment from Jesse. Also, I think critical consciousness has infected everyone. People just pick and choose which dialectical approach suits their argument. Yeah, to some extent, that's true. Like, I tend to fall in the box where I blame the government for everything. And I'm probably right, but, maybe there's something that doesn't quite fit in that box.
Well, it's better to err on the side of the government's fault. I mean, we know that. So, anyway, all right, sir. Where are we at?
Where are we at? Do we want to say anything else about what the woke right means? Have we defined it well enough?
Yeah, I think we'll get there because, first of all, we're going to start with Kurt, right? So he's going to go right into it. We're going to talk. The next clip after that's one I think is really important. And that's
all right,
the literal nail in the coffin before we continue. So I'll start with this one, sir. You want to set this one up?
Yeah, Kurt Metzger, he's on Jimmy Dore's show. He's like the co-host on his show now, right? So he's talking about what he thinks the woke right is. And just remember, guys, he is a comedian. He's not an expert.
Well, he's never been there. He's never been on the right.
Leave our old Zionist tricks.
Yes.
All of them. So
well,
that's
how
what
they
the
call
woke right is.
So how the woke left calls everything racism, the woke right, Zionists, call everything anti-Semitism.
I don't think that's what James Lindsay was trying to say when he called Dave Smith woke right. I think he did not understand what he was saying, but now I understand what he's saying, and it's Zionist. That's very obvious.
Yeah.
You're muted again there.
Turns out I have sync problems again. Sorry, everybody. Apologies. Yeah. I'm getting a new computer. I swear to God. I just had a car problem that I'm fixing now, and then I'm going to get a computer. I'm working on it. I promise.
We can still hear it. It's all right.
Yeah, as long as we can hear it. And Kurt Metzger's ugly. We don't want to sync his face with his fat face and his. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that, man?
I don't know about you. This doesn't even make sense to me. The woke right are just Zionists.
I think he jumped the gun. Yeah. And I clipped this specifically because I also want to share. Not everything is Zionism either, guys. Okay. I look, I think there's truths here. I just think that Kurt is on the very extreme end of it. And then you got other people on the other extreme end. I just want to be clear that Kurt, once again, I think Kurt's brains got broken over this time. The more he looks into these conspiracies, and you've heard him on Rogan and how his brain goes back and forth.
Yeah.
But he's not necessarily wrong in the connection, right? Like, it's not everything, but he's being hyperbolic, right?
Mm-hmm. No, he's right. He's right to not include Dave Smith in that because Dave Smith is not a Zionist, obviously. The people that are attacking and doing this, Douglas Murray, James Lindsay, who else? Ben Shapiro.
Shapiro.
Yeah. They are all very much.
Dave Rubin now. Dave Rubin jumped in.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, despite whatever you might think about Israel, how it started or whatever, they refuse to see certain things that are obviously wrong, right? Things Israel's doing, killing people indiscriminately, unproportionately, disproportionately. That's the right word, yeah. And if you're not even willing to look at that, and if you think that anyone who says something to even question this is anti-Semitic, you're just wrong. And I think you are at least approaching woke at that point.
100%. So I'm going to pull up Justin's question one more time. Because as we go to this next clip, we have to set this up. Does everyone remember the last 10 years of Kimbe and white fragility and all that weird shit? Hey, we've watched Am I Racist? It's pretty fucking crazy. It's unbelievable what happened. CRT, all that stuff. Okay. It's not the phrase, it's not enough to be anti-racist. You have to be actively anti-racist. Do you remember?
Good old Joe Jorgensen.
Yeah, you have right. Joe Jorgensen, the libertarian fucking presidential
libertarian
candidate.
Of all people. Come on.
You have to be actively anti-racist. Like, you have to have that tough conversation with your racist uncle that he's racist. Like, get the fuck out of here. Are you fucking kidding? Okay, so
and this was just to remind people, this was in 2020 at the height of the COVID crazy insanity, right? And not a word about that. But oh yes, we must be actively anti-racist.
Yes, it must be actively. And this is and once again, that was the culmination of it. Okay. So here is the exact nail. This pins it exactly. Listen to this person. Imagine him being Kimbe, and imagine the exact words being used instead of what he says. Use the word racism, and then see what the woke right is compared to the woke left.
Anti-Semitism is not just an age-old prejudice. It is a contemporary crisis manifesting on campuses across the nation. It is not enough for individuals or institutions to merely claim they are not anti-Semitic. As my father once taught me, it is not enough for people, especially public figures, to be neutral or not be anti-Semitic. One must be anti-Semitic. We must demand the same of our universities and government institutions. This hearing, in my opinion, is an attempt to be just that, anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic. I feel like that's not enough even. I feel like you need to be anti-Semitic.
Yes. And it's got to be in groups of 3. It's got to be odd numbers. So even. The more we can exponentiate the number of odd antis, we get better at our anti-Semitism.
You get better results every time.
Yeah. It sounds like an exponential route. If we just keep saying anti, and then adding, a couple more. All right.
Because there's always going to be one more person that you got to battle in the next level of anti.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. Now let's go to very quickly a quick definition of anti-Semitism.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed in what? The last literally 3-4 months since you and I talked about what the woke right's going to do. What did we say? I think we even talked about it. They're going to use anti-Semitism to censor. Ben Shapiro, Jordan, the Daily Wire, and all those people have been exposed to censor people. And it's not against Jews or Judaism. Any criticism against the nation state of Israel is now defined as anti-Semitism. Does anyone see what's going on here? Please help me understand. To the 70 people online right now with us on a Monday night, talking about the woke right 10 days after this crazy shit happened. Like, I am kind of burned out over it, but it needs to be addressed. The reason it still has legs is because this needs to be shown. You cannot have anti-Semitism. You can't have anti-Semitism. All this bullshit. It's crazy. And if you cannot see that they're using the downtrodden Jewish race of their entire existence as the compassion that they're weaponizing against you, then I don't know how to help you. I can only lead you so far. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like Douglas Murray came in there. He didn't directly call them anti-Semitic, I don't think. Or maybe he did. Maybe I missed that. But what he said was, well, if you don't support Israel, then you support Hamas. He says Hamas. So Hamas, of course, nobody on this side, the Dave Smith, the whoever else is grouped in that category, nobody on that side is supporting Hamas either. But they know that Israel created Hamas, much like the United States created Al Qaeda. They created a lot of these terrorist groups, or at least they funded them into relevance.
Right. Once again, he goes, Hamas is evil. Okay, well then maybe we should back it up then. Let's back it up to why Hamas gained any kind of power, credibility in the first. Oh, it was funded to counter the growing strength of the Palestinian Authority, the PLO, because they were actually becoming very sane and normal and almost secular, almost like they were being very Muslimy. I don't know what the term is, right? Like they weren't, they weren't jerking off to porn and strapping bombs to their back. Okay. They were getting very centrist. Okay. And Israel just couldn't have it. They couldn't have it. So they funded a counter organization to make them look bad again. These are facts. These are not arguable points, but all you'll get from Murray is, well, have you been there? And okay, what's the fact?
On the Israel state guided tour?
Right. Does it change? Was I there? Were you there with the briefcases full of cash that they walked into Hamas? Were you there? No, but it happened. So, like,
did you see Tim Dillon on Rogan talking about that? That was so great.
Yes. Tim Dillon's
like, well, you could just go to a war. How do I just go to a war? I want to go.
Yeah, just go to a war. Man. And that's the craziness. There's so much that's happening. Like everybody's still talking about this, man.
I want to see like Douglas Murray's reaction to seeing that though, because Joe Rogan was actually mocking him very, very hard.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about that reaction. There's two reactions on Twitter about that. One is hilarious that Douglas Murray is so mocked because he's made a fool of himself. That's us. There's another side that's actually like, Joe Rogan sunk to that level. He's a fucking comedian. He makes jokes for a living. And guy, I'm like, he's a comedian. He makes jokes for a living. Some guy goes, his podcast is his biggest thing. And I'm like, what does that have to do with him making jokes for a living? He doesn't, it's like,
even if he wasn't, even if he was just a podcaster guy, right?
Right.
Murray came in there and like tried to scold him for having people he wanted to talk to on. Just like, Joe, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is so dangerous. What are you doing? And he tried to like shame Joe for having a guest. It's like, you don't get to do that and still be friends. I totally support Joe mocking him at that point because he did embarrass himself.
100. You want to read that comment from Justin?
Justin says, have you been there? Strategy is basically a type of the appeal to authority fallacy. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And we're going to get into that expertise, right? Lindsay talks about expertise. We'll get there. But once again, like Douglas Murray visited Afghanistan. He visited Iraq. He visited Ukraine. How's his expertise working? How's his being there? How did those places work out so far? I'm going to argue not so well. So I don't know being there is necessarily the thing. Now, I've always argued if you've been there, you can add some credibility to you, but you don't lose it for not. That's all. You could just
it can add to your credibility, of course. Yeah.
Right. Like, so Douglas, by him coming in at that angle, like if he came at a shallower angle, it would actually have had way more impact. If he's like, hey, you know what? If you haven't visited those sites, it is a pretty remarkable site. And just leave it at that. Like, not even saying like scolding for not going, but it's like, if you haven't been there, these things are pretty, you know what I mean? And try to appeal it that way. But 100%, Justin, you're right. It's appeal to authority, appeal to expertise or whatever. The guy in the butcher coat, that's a doctor, right? So,
yeah, but we're not here to rehash the whole Murray versus Smith thing. We're kind of getting into woke right? A lot of this is James Lindsay, Konstantin Kisin, which I think we're going to see next.
Yep. Pulling it up.
People who are really, really upset about this interview and think that Murray actually won somehow. I don't know, man.
And once again, I don't think either of us are arguing that Dave like mopped the floor with him.
No.
It's just that Douglas offered nothing in response to anything that was said. Right.
Whenever he finally got to making a point, he had already just ruined his own credibility by doing these fallacies, the appeal to authority, over and over, and just like, oh, I'm so disgusted that I have to be here with a comedian. Can you imagine?
Right. All right, man. So once again, everyone who's joined us, we're up to 70 people already, Jason. It's great. This is crazy. I can't believe for us, this is a huge moment for us. Like that so many people are sharing their Monday night with us to talk about the woke right. We are sharing with you what's happening now. The woke left is they've kind of crumbled. There's no power there anymore. They're losing all their stuff. This group that took over is now this other group who's using the same tactics to do their bidding, right? To get their stuff through. And we're trying to call it out. Now we were calling everyone out, Lindsay, kissing everybody. So I just want to be clear. There's going to be some names here that a lot of you that are joining on the chat don't even know the names of, because a lot of, like Justin, for example, you're on Facebook a lot. So you probably don't see a lot of the Twitter stuff. But if you're on Twitter, you see a lot more of this. But this is for everyone, guys. I'm here to share a message. Jason and I are here only to share this with you. So thank you again for joining us. We're so grateful for that. Jason, you want me to just hit play on this guy?
Yeah. Before we start, this is an older clip, right? This is him talking about woke culture.
Right. So it's actually a really short clip from a climate change debate. And he's saying he's going to agree with climate change, and then he's going to address why. And you and I are talking about this 10 days later, and you'll understand why I clipped this as well.
And the speakers for making the points for me, because it means I don't have to reiterate the point that no, free speech is not some right-wing reframing of whatever. It's the foundation of Western civilization. Upon this civilization is built, and the Enlightenment values that led to it.
So, free speech.
It's the foundation. He's correct.
This is right. And what's Constantine telling us? We're going to have standards? If no one saw this article, we could pull it up, but basically he's talking about standards. You want to share a little bit about that? Did you happen to read it or look at it?
I don't know. I haven't read it, but I know he talked about Podcastistan. He's like, well, actually, this is not working. Basically, he's saying that, maybe we need to rethink this whole model of just letting everybody speak.
And we will get to Podcastistan, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
We know that because there's a Dave Rubin clip, I think, right, that we're going to get to as well.
That's right. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so I talked about this in my ANCAF this morning a little bit. The idea that a free market of ideas really leads to truth. And I think he's right a little bit, just a little bit, not all the way. He's right that we don't necessarily get to truth. One, because we don't actually have a free market. There's a lot of outside influence that alters things and manipulates people. But just also that human beings take shortcuts. So we're not just like looking at facts and taking that in and making a decision. We want to fit in with our group. We want to be on the right side, and it doesn't really matter if the idea is right, just that people think you're on the right side.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's just an interesting thing how it's so parallel. And once again, guys, it's about a group of people who just want their standards in place. It's not about Jason and I talk about liberty, about talking everything you want and not suppressing anyone's speech, because you never know what you're going to pull. You can pull one piece of information. That's all you need. Once again, to your point, just because Douglas Murray's so freaking wrong here, some of this stuff's good, right? We're going to give him credit about his books. He's written some bangers.
Yeah, I assume. I haven't read his books either. I'm not an expert.
I thought Madness of Crowds, or did you
Murray. I thought you meant Kismet.
Murray. I'm sorry.
Oh, Murray,
I'm saying even Murray gets stuff right. Like, it's not like he's wrong. He's just wrong about this.
I'll have to go back and revisit that, because the only thing I remember distinctly from that is at the end, he talks about being gay, and like, if you have experienced being penetrated and penetrating someone, like you are somehow this like God, or I don't know. It's very odd.
So did it end with the madness of Hmm?
The
All right.
madness of homosexuality.
Which is not mad. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with
You
that.
know, we watch Seinfeld all the time. So
No, I don't want to disparage homosexuality.
No,
I
not-
don't care.
yeah,
I really
we
don't
do
care.
not give a shit. Once again, aren't we liberty people? We can judge.
Yes.
We just don't give a shit. We really do not care. Who gives a
But
fuck?
seriously, go look at that book again. Go check out the end. It's somewhere near the end, if I remember right. It was very interesting.
Zach finally joined us. He's getting right in on it. So once again, we're so grateful
Zach, take
people
your own
join us.
advice, buddy.
We did Enneagram. I got to share what the 4-wing 5 is. It's pretty funny. I'll share with you guys offline.
Yeah, anyway, I forgot where we were, but
So we're
about
coming off of kissing, and we're gonna talk about the next place. I think. Well, I think we're going to podcast stand in the future, right? We got that down the road. But this next piece, because we came off of kissing talking about free speech, we're now going to go to Marco Rubio, right? And we're going to talk about Marco Rubio's role in eliminating things in the last 4 years that were used to suppress free speech. What? And then I think isn't Donald Trump going to call in? I think he's going to call in after that. So we're not sure about that.
We will see.
He just might. All right. So I'm going to play this one for us.
We are facing foreign threats from the European Union and Brazil and other places to Americans' ability to talk.
Yeah. So the first thing, obviously, is our number one priority is Americans. So we don't want to see an American who happens to be living in London or happens to be living in Europe post something online about American politics or any politics, and all of a sudden they're facing ramifications over there, or they're denied entry, and something happens, we're denying them into our country, or we're going to arrest them because they posted something while living overseas. So our number one interest is the impact it has on Americans. The broader point, which is the one I think the vice president made very clear, in Munich at the security conference, and people freaked out about what he said, but it's true. What is it that links us with Western Europe? What is it that links us with these? It's our shared values. And one of those shared values, we hope, is freedom of expression. I know they don't have a First Amendment, but freedom of expression, right? And if that is eroded, if suddenly these become places where people are targeted because of what they said or what their opinion is, then one of the pillars of our shared interest, beyond military cooperation and everything else, is under attack. And I think he made a very vibrant point that in some ways, by attacking freedom of expression, you are attacking one of the pillars of our shared interest, our shared culture, our shared values. And so I think we raise that.
Yeah. So why did we bring this up?
So basically, he's talking about removing this global endowment thing. We're going to do it. We're going to play the next one, I think, with him and Shapiro, right? So the point is, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is talking about eliminating these groups that were interfering with our core values of freedom of expression. Oh, what's freedom of expression? Freedom of, speech and freedom of assembly. And what's happening on college campuses right now, Jason? What's happening around the country right now with freedom of expression? And what are you seeing happening?
Yeah, I think this started in Florida, right? Rubio's from Florida, I believe. But this started on university campuses in Florida, people protesting what was happening to Palestine, by Israel. And the state came in and said, anyone who talks about this is out. You're kicked out of the school. And this has evolved now into people being deported now that Trump's president and he promised to deport all these people. He's looking for those people who are staging protests. And there's maybe some argument to be made, especially there's one high profile case. I can't remember the guy's name, but he did, I think, actually take over a part of the school and locked it down for several days. And that probably shouldn't be happening. But
yeah, you and I are NAPs, right? That is not, that falls outside the purview of freedom of expression. So that doesn't even count. We don't count those. That's the fucking funny point, is we're only talking about the assemblers and the speakers. That's it. But once again, the overreach, right? We do not condone taking over of stuff. We are NAP people. We do not condone that. So we already know before that, but yeah, but please continue. I mean, you're making great points.
Yeah, I always hated protests too. I feel like you're begging people to do something that you want. You know, they're in charge of you, right? So you're begging them, but you're accepting the frame that they're in charge and that they can do those things, right? So I feel like if you're not prepared to take it all the way, why protest?
We pay taxes, bro. You and I are protesting the stuff that's going on, the bombs being dropped in countries, and you and I both paid taxes this week. Guarantee that 4 months of our salary is out the door, and that's because we're law-abiding citizens, because we're good people. I think it's just because we're generally good people. We just want us good people to not have any rulers. We just want rules, no rulers, right? So
yeah. It's also weird to protest about two completely other countries in the United States. Yes, the U.S. funds Israel quite a bit, but Israel's not going to stop because there's a protest at Columbia University or whatever. You know, it's just okay. There's no
but that's
power
the
there.
narrative. That's the control, right? They got to still have our support. Their manufacturing consent. Israel, why do you think TikTok was getting sold? Israel is like 90% Palestinian content on there. They were losing the fucking narrative battle. They are losing. And once again, Candace Owens is one of this. I don't want to say squirrels because it's like when she gets on something, she does not let go. That's all I know. But she's the one who said it. Israel told us to look, and we looked. That's literally what's happening. And you can't put this genie back in the bottle. This is going to take years of absolution by one side, and it's not us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
they're like, look, but no, don't look there. Don't look there.
Right. So what I wanted to share, the reason I shared that last one was about freedom of expression, right? Here's Ben Shapiro with Marco Rubio. This is the removal of the Global Engagement Center. This is the kind of point I was trying to make, because after that, I think we're going to get a very special guest coming on. So it's going to be pretty cool. But this, someone's going to have to warm up. But this is where he talks about the Global Engagement Center, what it was, how they used it, and how evil it was. And then we'll look at something that they're going to implement. So it's such a beautiful in hypocrisy and contradiction.
What about it? And, you know, back when they came up with that 12 years ago, whatever it was, people are like, you know, whatever makes sense. And then it metastasized, and it's like, oh, there's foreign interference in our elections. We need to start going after that. Well, then by 2020, it became a movement to go after voices inside of American politics and begin to label people. And they put a guy in charge who basically was going around saying Trump speaks just like these foreign terrorists. His supporters speak just like these foreign terrorists. So now you have an individual running a State Department entity that was labeling American speech by Americans as foreign interference. And then really the kicker was, not only were they doing all that formally from the State Department, but they were taking State Department money and they were giving it to these third-party groups who were supposed to be like independent, you know, verified arbiters of what's true and what isn't, what's good and what's bad. And these groups were deliberately targeting, I believe you were one of the ones they targeted, I think the Federalists, began putting labels on people. Now you may say, okay, well, what's the importance of label? Well, that's not just the issue here. The issue is not only did they put labels on people, that was then used to go to social media companies. It was used to go to outlets and say, you have to deplatform these people, or you have to cut back on how much views they're getting. You have to go after them. In essence, silence them. So in essence, it metastasized and the metamorphosis into a government-run entity that was targeting political speech in America, labeling it disinformation, and silencing it. All paid for by the American taxpayers directly and indirectly. And that ends. So what happened when we took over, right before we took over, they got rid of this Global Engagement Center. They renamed it and moved it somewhere else. But, you know, renaming something doesn't change it. You still leave the thing around. So we've undertaken, 12 weeks of looking, how do we reorganize this whole thing? How do we get rid of it? And that's what we're announcing today is we're taking the whole thing down. And it's about $50 million. I mean, it's not a small amount of money. And we're not going to be in the business of doing this anymore.
Money.
In fact, we're going to be in the business of promoting free speech in America and around the world as a core American value. And that really is what we're going to be about right now. And we're also going to go back and look at, as an accountability project, all of the instances in which this was used as a weapon against American political voices. And the reason why that's important is not just because of accountability, it's to make sure it never happens again. You document these things so that someone in the future, when they get some bright idea like this, realize, why we shouldn't do it, because this is what it turns into.
All right.
What?
Some of this sounds good. Shutting down these global engagement centers, shutting down the funding from stuff like USAID to all the groups that are being paid to protest, being paid to cause trouble. That sounds good. But does anyone trust Marco Rubio? You trust this guy?
I think I found where the Global Engagement Center turned into.
We're going to turn it into something else.
Isn't it funny? So he just
How do you say this name?
About freedom. You don't have to worry about it. Mr.
Yehuda?
President. Yehuda. Sure. Let me look at it. Let me take it. Yehuda Kaplan. There you go. Yehuda Kaplan. It's like Kobayashi Maru. Same thing.
I am proud to announce to nominate Yehuda Kaplan as the United States Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism, ambassador at large. Yehuda is a successful businessman and staunch advocate for the Jewish faith and the rights of his people to live and worship free from persecution. With anti-Semitism dangerously on the rise, Yehuda will be the strongest representative for Americans and Jews across the globe and promote peace. Congratulations, Yehuda.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is your ear okay? Let me see. Is you all right? Is he healing up? You
no scar. Isn't that weird?
Man. That was beautiful, Mr. President. So before we continue, let's backtrack one quick second because we talked about the protests. Justin did make a good point. If you'd like to share that real quickly.
Yeah, problem with a lot of these protests is that they grow beyond just assemblies into more like a collective mob that starts physically dominating their spaces using intimidation tactics. 100%. That's the point I was trying to make with that guy. It's like he actually took over a space that didn't belong to him. That was, a collective space for the university. Say what you will about collective spaces, but yeah, that's exactly the problem. It's the problem with like people that block the roads for these climate protests or whatever protests. They think blocking the roads is a good idea. No, if you're blocking the road, you kind of better expect to get run over.
And I've seen some pretty interesting videos of that stuff. It's been, yeah. So once again, thank you so much for everyone joining us. Mr. President, thank you so much for that speech. I'm so glad. And once again, this is the woke left becoming the woke right. Marco Rubio just talked about the core values of freedom of expression and shutting down a government-funded agency by our tax dollars that's anti-American, that censors any kind of shitty speech. And the next thing, this Yehuda guy gets whatever, risen to this role of some kind of anti-Semitism guy. What?
Yep. I think at this point, if you're still expecting Donald Trump's administration to do good stuff, I don't know, man. I got a bridge in Idaho to sell you. And
I think he's done some okay stuff, like the free Ross thing. We can look into that, and that's about it. Anyway, we'll just look. Ross was worth it, right? Just like Benjamin Franklin said, better 100 guilty men go free than one innocent man be imprisoned. So hopefully we'll see him in Freedom Fest. Hopefully he and Lynn will be there, his mom. So if I'm not sure if you're still going yet. So anyway, so please, where are we at, sir?
All right. So we kind of got a little bit off track, I think, with that, but it is relevant. It is relevant because all these people are kind of in the same sphere, right? They are the right, but they are protecting this one specific group of people because they think they're oppressed, right? I mean, that's got to be it. That's the reason. I don't think they deny that even.
Not at all. And we did kind of jump around. And like I said, it was kind of hard to get. There's so many clips. Literally, there were 15 videos this weekend that Brett Weinstein just had one. Or Brett Weinstein, sorry, apologies. And who else? The one Kissen just had a retort. And I'm just like, my head is still freaking swimming. We've got 90 people on. 90 people, you and I on a Monday, my friend. This is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. This woke right thing has just blown up. And let's get back on track. Let's get back. Talk about podcastism. This is exactly about the thing. We'll play the Dave Rubin part about the expertise. This is the thing that Justin was kind of, I think, talking about that fallacy. If you like to talk a little bit more about that while you're taking your whiskey, I hand it off to you.
The fallacy of the appeal to
Dinner
authority.
while you're in the middle of chewing your meal.
Yeah, appeal to authority was obviously played up. Everyone talked about that after the Smith Murray thing. That was his whole first third of the argument, is just appealing to authority. But yeah, let's talk about experts, because that's a big topic. That's a big thing that came out of it. Are you an expert? We've already been joking about it a lot today, right? I'm not an expert, but yeah. Right. For one thing, what I really think Dave Smith should do is call himself an expert, because I think he is at this point. He's debated so many people about this issue. He's done his homework. He hasn't been there, but he is. He knows what he's talking about, right? He could be wrong about things. I will leave it open to the fact that he could be wrong.
Right.
He could be wrong.
Correct.
But if he's wrong and you're such an expert, come in and just smash him. Get him. You know, it should be easy if he's such a non-expert.
Right. And once again, we did a book club with Provoked. I kicked you to the curb. I totally left you in the lurch. I'm so sorry. But
I'll never forgive you for this.
I know I don't forgive myself, my friend. As a one wing two, I will never forgive myself.
Nah, I don't care.
But but the truth is, like, I was honored to have Scott Horton on. Now, Dave Smith is basically Scott Horton with a little bit more influence, because he comes from like an entertainment background, so he has more of a following than Scott. But Scott would have literally said verbatim the same things that Dave Smith would have said. All the books that we reference, 660 pages of Provoked is about Ukraine, Russia. 90 pages are footnotes. 90 pages of the 660. The guy, you want to talk research? That's your research. There's your expertise. And what's funny is the way he called out the quotes. How dare you quote a 4-star general? Yeah. Oh, now you believe him? No, that's what he fucking said, man. That's what he said, not I believe him.
Yeah, obviously you don't believe everything the guy says, but when it's clearly not in his interest to admit something, then yes, we believe that, right? But that's what I was thinking this whole time, is like, I wish Scott Horton was here, because he would call himself an expert and he would not have taken that out, you know, and he would have nailed Murray's ass to the wall. That sounded a little gay, but I didn't mean it that way.
Well, what's interesting, and I know this sounds really funky, but I think what's keeping Joe Rogan from having Scott on is that everyone keeps telling him to have Scott on.
Yeah, probably.
And, you know, he kind of talked about that. He's like, when people mention people to me, I'm like, I'm not interested. And I wouldn't be shocked if, like, that's the one thing, like, holding him back almost, because he doesn't want to
Joe, you got to have Scott Horton on. You got to do it.
I think it would be important. I think it would be important to have Scott on. So go ahead. Once again, before we talked about Konstantin Kisin, we talked about this thing he wrote. Podcastistan is now this thing. Even though the 4 years that all these guys cut their teeth and got notoriety through Podcastistan, now it's a problem. It's a problem. It's like Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harris. Sure, they were fucking geniuses until they weren't, right? Like, kind of thing, right? Like Sam Harris. Yeah. Look at Sam Harris from 15 years ago, from the Four Horsemen, and you're like, wow, what a genius this guy is. He talks so good. And his book, Free Will, is just such a good way. But he totally got COVID incorrect. And if only COVID went exactly the same way that he said he thought it would, if only it went that way, then everything else would have been right and he would have been right. But he was 100% wrong the entire time.
Exactly.
So
yeah, this quote is interesting that we've got pulled up already. Podcastistan is a place where people scold the mainstream media for failing to live up to their standards while having none of their own. This is part of why I said Dave should just call himself an expert, because he does hold himself to a high standard, right? He's not just out there talking out of his ass. He's listening to experts like Scott Horton, who interviews all the people who were there, who were in the rooms making decisions. So it's not like he's just making shit up. He's there knowing what he's talking about. And he is holding himself up to a standard. The mainstream media
100%.
has a different standard. Their standard is what sells, what gets clicks, you know, and podcasts have that too, but it's not the same. It's because you've got corporate sponsors. You've got like Pfizer sponsoring everything, just as one example.
But we are seeing a crumble there. Once again, with the corporate dinosaur media, they're crumbling. And this new podcasting is getting the strength with the sponsorship. It's starting to come with it. And now these guys are seeing that as the new corporate media. But that's not what this is supposed to be. It's just supposed to be anti-everything. And not anti as against, just not that. It's supposed to be anarcho that, right? Like, it's just anarcho corporate media, basically.
Comment.
So,
should we call ourselves experts as well? It depends what you're talking about.
Scott Horton all the time. So Ukraine, Russia, I will actually do it. I had that debate. I still haven't watched it because I'm cringing, but I actually think I held my own. I really do.
You did. You did.
During I just don't know. So let me hit this guy, and then we've got, once again, James Lindsay's the other player we talked about. So James Lindsay, to your point, the left left him. These are a lot of people where the left left them. They're neolibs, they're neocons on the left, or neolibs, whatever you want to call them, but the left pushed them out. That's why they're in this group. They're for no other reason. Now they're trying to capture this group and turn it into their own. So I'll hit this one for us.
Podcastistan is a place where people scold the mainstream media for failing to live up to their standards while having none of their own. And this was to the backdrop of a Douglas Murray, Dave Smith debate, largely about Israel on Rogan's podcast. And I've been thinking a lot about this because people are putting aside even the specifics of the debate, and you guys are welcome to talk about whatever you want, obviously. As we watch mainstream collapse and the gatekeeping that you were talking about earlier, James, and most people watching this, I think, agree that gatekeeping has been terrible, especially COVID, I think, blew apart so many doors for people that now they're questioning everything. And you've got people thinking that Winston Churchill was the bad guy in World War II and somehow Hitler was good. And just like the litany of things that we've upended.
Can we pause already?
We are finding ourselves in a weird place where everyone's just going off to their corner to find.
Yeah, this is the stupidest thing of the whole thing, is that if you think that Winston Churchill did some bad things, took some bad steps on the way to World War II, that means you think Hitler was good. That is just the stupidest logical process you could possibly come up with.
I don't know what logical fallacy that is, but it's fucking huge. It's just like, huge.
Yeah.
It's stupidity is what it is. Because I'm not something does not make me the opposite of it. That does not make me the opposite of it. It's like, I saw the coolest thing with libertarian. I saw this coolest meme, and it's like, kids like, oh, fuck the government. And you're like, oh, new guy, huh? Let's get this thing straight, kid. Just because we're on the same team does not mean we're not enemies, right? Like, that is... That's so true, man. Yeah. That is so true. We're just here for truth. I think we're principled people who talk about truth. And
it is possible for two people to do bad things at the same time. That's not a hard concept to grasp.
It is possible to be good and make bad decisions.
And I don't agree with that statement that Churchill was the chief villain. Like, the person doing the stuff is the chief villain. But still, like, obviously he's not being 100% serious with that statement.
And he never was. And once again, just like the woke left, very fine people on both sides. What are the other ones that they use? The hoax. All those hoaxes, the bleach hoax. This is exactly the same contextual bullshit that the left used. This is the same stuff, saying that fucking now we believe Churchill was the bad guy in World War II when Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini all and Mao, they all existed. Are you fucking kidding me? What hell? Dude, it's so fucking reductionist. It's so sickeningly reductionist. So
it reminds me of the COVID times when I call this single variable thinking, right? Because you could be like, hey guys, I don't think these masks are really doing anything. We can look at this data and all that, and people will come back like, oh, you want grandma to die. It's just like, oh my God, you're so dumb. You're so dumb.
Go ahead and read that, because I do have a point about that for Justin. And it is, once again, it's like the next shift over, but we can explain it. I'm happy to explain that.
Justin says, would it be fair to say that the people thinking what Churchill did was bad, at least in part, may not be saying that Hitler is good, but they are in a way saying that Hitler was at least in part justified? I think that's where the worry comes in. I think that's what people are worried about.
Yeah.
Some people do take it that way because people are not smart.
And once again, because we see cause and effect does not mean we justify it, that we actively justify it. I will use a little analogy. I'll try. It's not going to be perfect, but it's close. Danzig was lost to Germany, lost Danzig after World War I. And that was their port. That was their port to the North Sea, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to pull out the map, but I think that's where it was. Okay. Where Poland was. Hitler asked if they could get Danzig back. And Churchill said no. Now, that choked off Hitler from a port that he felt he needed for the growth of his country, right? Like waterways were life, that they all are, right? So in Russia right now, in Ukraine, in the ocean, is it the Baltic? I think it's the Baltic, right there. Sevastopol is in Ukraine. It is Russia's only port that they lease from Ukraine. They've leased it for 75 years. The sole reason they do not want NATO or Ukraine and NATO, I wonder why, Jason. Maybe because they'll lose the only port they have to the sea that they're trying for their fleet. Like, if you can't just take a step back, not justify it, but if you can't just take a step back and go, oh, that actually that makes sense. So maybe we should use that as part of our consideration.
It's the whole, yes, it's the whole theme of that book, Provoked. It's like, no, Scott Horton never said that Russia was justified in killing thousands of Ukrainians, hundreds of thousands even. No, that is wrong. But let's talk about what led up to this happening. And probably somebody that's a better person than Vladimir Putin would have done things differently and probably had a better outcome. So Putin is still at fault, correct?
Yeah, 100%, sir.
But let's talk about the reasons. How did we get here? Why is he so pissed off? Why did he feel the need to do that? And the same thing in World War II. You know, Hitler, of course, if he was a better person, he would not have done all the things he did. He would have not rounded up an entire ethnicity of people and put them in concentration camps, right? But let's talk about what got there. How did we get to the point where not just him wanting to do this, but he got in power and he got so many people behind him? Let's talk about that. That is the reason that we pick at these things. Not that we think Hitler was good, but how do we get there and how do we stop it from happening in the future?
The rise of Hitler wasn't Hitler. He was the guy, but the rise of Trump was not Trump, everybody. And it's not that I am not making Hitler akin to Trump. We're talking about iconoclast. These are icons of fucking cults of personality that you either love or hate in that when they were still around, right? I can only argue that that's probably what it was. These are what are they? Gravitating figures or whatever. You know what I mean? So anyway, but Justin, great questions. The thing is, once again, I would have been there. I would have been there 5 years ago, asking but no, we were saying it's justified now. It's like, no, man. It's like there's a meta thing behind that. You know what I mean?
But there are people that do go that way, that think, oh, well, if that was the case, then maybe he was justified. And that's not where we're going. That's definitely not the side Dave's on. There are people like Nick Fuentes maybe who are on that side, right?
We hit 100. Yeah.
Hey,
sorry,
nice.
I'm excited. This is amazing, man. This conversation. So go ahead, Nick Fuentes, man. Finish it out on Nick, and then I'll play the rest of Dave.
Yeah, I guess I don't know too much about him. I've only seen him talk a few times, but I feel like he's probably one of those guys who are on that side of, oh, yeah, maybe we should start thinking that Jews are bad and Hitler was right. That is not where we're going.
Right. And There is IDS, Israel derangement syndrome, just like there's TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. This is not about the Jews. It's not about the Jews. The only criticisms that I have are against a nation state and a group of people who are doing evil things and the agenda of what I would perceive as this Zionist agenda. That's it. Not about a people, not about a person, not about any individual or anything, not clumping anyone together.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe we should finish this clip, huh? Do you want to back it up just a little bit?
Set us off, but it'll explain something in a second.
Truth. I do the best I can on this show to tell people what I think. I'm going to have some blind spots and make mistakes every now and again. But as we whirl further into Podcastistan, as Constantine is talking about, is this like, in some sense, the most dangerous thing that a modern society can be in, where we're just going to all define truth for ourselves? And in some ways, we have to blame the previous gatekeepers because they did not do a good enough job gatekeeping correctly.
What are you talking about, bro? Like, is he advocating for gatekeepers? He's like, now we're the gatekeepers. Now we're the ones. We're blaming the old gatekeepers. We're the new ones.
Right. Ding, ding, ding. You should right now, anyone with any 2 brain cells should be ringing alarm bells right now that all of the stuff that the left was doing is happening on the right. All of it. Boom, 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 boom. It should be like crazy. They're talking about the gatekeepers and the standards. Don't you think? And listen to how leading the question is. He's just and obviously he's tossing fucking James Lindsay, who already is crazy about it, this fucking softball that it's on a tee. It's just on a tee, right? So I'm gonna get to James's response now. Tell me to pause whenever, okay? Because I know I just want to kind of get moving a little bit. I know we're kind of a little bit behind. We have 105 people on tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, man. This is the biggest crowd we've had. Once again, it speaks to how spark and how hot topic of this is that we're talking about, the woke. Do you want to share that before I hit that clip?
Justin says, I see acknowledgments of the catalyst leading to confrontations aren't inherently implying justification for those events occurring. Yeah, people still make a choice, right? Hitler still made those choices to do the things. He did not have to. Would he have done that without the provocation? I don't know. You can't really go back in time and change it and find out. But yeah, yes, you're right, Justin.
And Justin, that is exactly what we're saying. That's exactly the point, man. We sound like radical people. We're radically reasonable. That's kind of where we are. We're frustrated. Like, my frustration is that it's so calmly, logically, it just makes sense that I don't understand why other people don't see it. That's why, but I'm crazy. So I admit that part of me. But we don't. And the point is, anyone in history will argue that the Treaty of Versailles choked Germany to a point where at some point it was just gonna blow up again. You didn't know how or didn't know when, but there was no way that a country that had its throat stepped on, that, by the way, we were 33% unemployment. They were 50%. I remember people talking about their relatives digging through dumpsters for food. I remember the stories that my grandparents did, you know what I mean? Told. Because my dad was born in 40 in Hamburg. My mom 44 in Germany, and in what became East Germany. Like, I've heard these stories, man. It's crappy, but to say it doesn't justify any of it. Hitler was an evil megalomaniac. To think anyone who wants that kind of power is kind of shocking too. So,
yeah. Right. And then we could get into a whole thing about what the United States does without being in that situation. We're not in dire straits where we're so desperate and poor that we have to go to these extremes. But our government does all this shit anyway. But maybe that's a topic for another day.
I think we've got many topics for many days, sir. You ready for this one?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to try to play at double speed, but just tell me to pause whenever, okay?
Like, yeah, 1.5 or something.
Kick you out. That it has gone postmodern. This is the postmodern condition, and everything that went along with postmodernism on the left that sucked is going to come here.
125.
That also sucks. But the social constructivist viewpoint, which, by the way, critical constructivism is the formal academic name for what we call woke. The social constructivist viewpoint is that there's a they out there, the critical constructivist, because you have to be critical theory of it. There's a they out there who have gate kept the institutions so that their knowledge, but also what you're witnessing is postmodernism. what he's actually putting his finger on is called the postmodern condition. So now we have, I guess, the alt media, which largely codes right. Podcastistan is a great name for it, because if you don't pay your right dues to it, then they'll kick you out. That it has gone postmodern. This is the postmodern condition, and everything that went along with postmodernism on the left that sucked is going to come.
If you don't pay your dues to Podcastistan, they'll kick you out. I mean, who's in control of this? Is it Joe Rogan?
Wasn't that the point?
Because Lindsay's been out here on social media saying Joe Rogan is getting canceled right now. This is people trying to come in and take him out. He's going to be taken out soon. So if Joe Rogan's in charge of it, how is that possible?
Right. So this is the point, though. The Podcastistan, they are lumping all the popular podcasts together. Just all of them, like they're the same thing, like Ottoman, like all those Middle East countries were just the Ottoman Empire when they put Israel in the middle of it. Like, they, you know what I mean? They just see it as a thing, as an entity. And how fucking myopic is that? That's just as dumb as these critical race people on the left. They clumped us. It's like identity politics. If you have a podcast, you're in Podcastistan. Therefore, you are beholden. You and I could either die, stop, like we could just have 0 followers or no one's watching, or we could blow up or whatever. But it's all on what we do. Has nothing. Joe Rogan has 0 impact on whether you and I succeed as podcasters, right?
Yeah, correct. Unless he starts doing like a 24/7 podcast and nobody ever watches anything else.
That's true. But there'll always be competition, because he's not going to have everybody. He's popular.
Not everybody likes Joe Rogan,
right?
Of course. Yeah.
You know, my favorite is that she make her say daddy something. There's this daddy one. I love it. It's like my favorite. Let me do it, Tim Dillon. Oh, it's like my favorite podcast.
Call her daddy, you're talking about?
Yeah, call her daddy. That's the one.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'll continue with some James, and just tell me to pause so we can yell at him some more.
Wait. He also mentions postmodernism. Can we explain that? Can you explain that?
Oh, crap. I can't.
I can't really
I think
either.
this is okay. So postmodernism is kind of the left social culture that was taken by France in the 70s. That is a way. It's like everybody's truth is how they feel, more than like it's like a meta way to live a life. Like reality is how you perceive it, not like it's a self-perception thing, not a what's that called? A universal fact or anything like that. Is that kind of what it is?
Let me ask Grok here.
All right.
Postmodernism is a broad intellectual, artistic, and cultural movement that emerged in the mid-20th century, challenging the assumptions and the values of modernism. It rejects grand narratives, universal truths, and fixed meanings, emphasizing fragmentation, subjectivity, and pluralism.
Wow, I almost got it right.
Does that? Yeah, it's rejecting universal truth. I think that's the biggest thing that he's talking about, right?
Right. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. And that's what it is. It's about the universal truth is here 4 years for the last whatever plus years, all black people in America, all people of color in America were oppressed. That was the narrative. All they did was replace people of color with Jewish people. What? And not only that is it's not even Jewish people. You talk about a state that has Jewish people in it, and that counts. Like the box containing Jewish people.
Wait. What? The box cars? What are you talking about?
No. 9999999. No, we're not doing that, my friend. We're not doing that. Come on, man. All right. Shall I continue?
Yeah. Let's keep going.
Here that also sucks. But the social constructivist viewpoint, which, by the way, critical constructivism is the formal academic name for what we call woke. The social constructivist viewpoint is that there's a they out there, the critical constructivist, because you got to be critical theory of it. There's a they out there who have gatekept the institutions so that their knowledges are considered valid and nobody else's outside knowledges are considered valid. Therefore, outsider knowledge that challenges the existing establishment is considered more valid. And so that's actually also what he's touching on. So this is why these people qualify under a brand name like woke right.
Pause. We might not even get through this whole clip. So okay, so he's actually starting to make a real definition here, right? So people that think that there's a they out there who have gate kept the institutions so far. Yes, I think that's true, right? There's some, it may not be one specific group or person. It's kind of a collective of people who think that they're better than everyone else, that think they can control people's thoughts and people's actions and people's lives. They have kept the institutions on their side. But the second part of what he says is that therefore everything outside of those institutions is more valid because of it. That's not necessarily true, and I don't know of anyone that says that. Not everyone that talks against the institutions is correct. Does that make sense?
100%. It's a great place to pause it, because the second he says that, I cringe. When does just a counter narrative become more valuable? You mean like when it's proven more valuable? Like all the COVID bullshit? I mean,
yeah, does it stand up to scrutiny?
You're the person that you started your whole thing because of that. All of that stuff is this stuff. It's all of this by expertise and the science. This is the whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he built his career on this, like submitting those papers to trick the scientific journals to publish them, right? Because those institutions were so corrupt. But that doesn't mean what he wrote in there is accurate, right? He was just messing with the institution.
Right. And that was the thing, is they did take that more valuable or something. But when has anything that Dave or Scott or anyone said more valuable? It's just the fact. Like, no, they've never countered a fact. They've just strawmanned all of it and just said you then used every tactic but addressing the actual parts.
Exactly.
All right,
exactly.
I'll finish this off. Let me know when to pause again, because you're gonna pause.
Because most of them identify on the right. They push so-called right-wing values, and they've adopted a left-wing epistemology. I said that in long form with Winston on his podcast when we were at ARC together.
That's what you're doing.
And talked about the same issue. So they value outsider knowledge that supports a prevailing anti-establishment narrative, aka a critical theory. And so this is what we're actually seeing and of course Constantine has I envious here a way with words that is sometimes just positively magical, and he's done it extremely well there.
I had to pause it there.
Yeah, what the fuck, bro?
Dude,
no.
When did this become a circle jerk, everybody?
Oh
when did Podcastistan become a fucking circle jerk? I've never seen that. This is the same shit. This is like CNN sucking off MSNBC.
Yeah, dude. Away with words because he used the word Podcastistan. Dude, I watched that clip you sent me. 15 minutes of him just, oh, he was so boring. God, but he was so wrong at the same time.
Yes. It's like watching wrong paint dry.
Yes. Somebody made a comment at the beginning. I think it was Aaron. He said, "Is there a woke wrong?" I think that's it. I think that's it.
Hold on, where is that? I think that's where.
Yeah. Is there a woke wrong? Right. That's Constantine Kisin.
So once again, we have over 110 people on. It's amazing. This is a powder keg, everybody. Everybody's talking woke, right? If you've just joined us, first of all, thank you. Secondly, once this is over, start at the beginning, because we started with some really banger stuff. Hey, Jason, can you introduce yourself a little bit to everyone? Because we're still new here. We're still relaunching this thing.
My name's Jason. I just go by my first name. I do the Drop the Mask podcast. I've kind of slowed down a little bit because I've been so busy, but I'm doing this casual morning show called Anarcho-Caffeinated, ANCAF for short. Check it out. I'm talking about these kinds of things, but I'm talking about it from kind of a bird's eye view, taking a look at what's going on in psychology, what's going on behind the scenes. And no, I've never been, and I've never met these people that I'm talking about, but it's good. It's still good. I don't call myself an expert, but I should. Maybe I should.
But you play one on TV.
I am a
Um,
aspiring expert. I will say that, and I'm perfectly happy to know that I'm wrong. That's really the whole thing. Is like, if I'm wrong, I want to know. I'm very happy when someone disagrees with me, at least when we're like talking in good faith and we're kind of on the same level. But then, oh, maybe someone has a slightly different opinion. Then I'm very happy to know. I want to know why we disagree and what's the difference there. And maybe I'll adjust. I've adjusted my opinions many times, so I'm very happy to do that.
Like you, I will fight tooth and nail for truth. It may take me a while to break, but I am capable of it. Certainly capable to information. I mean, look at the way you and I dissect some things. It's like that's how we kind of look at all pieces. And that's why, by the way, the last 2 weeks on Facebook, I've been called an anti-Semitic lib shit Muslim right winger. That's what I've been called on Facebook this week in the last 2 weeks. Like, okay, sure. So you want to share that with everybody? And once again, at Drop the Mask Pod, and on Rumble, Drop the Mask Pod. Drop the mask.
Thank you. Yes, Justin says it's common tactic historically for people to rise to power using alternative media, then once obtaining power, denigrating that same media. I don't know if you ever came up watching Steven Crowder, but he used to talk about this all the time, where people like in Hollywood and stuff would get in there and then try to shut the door behind them, not let anybody else in, because they're threatened. They don't think they're good enough or something. But hey, Mark, tell people about yourself.
Oh, hey, Mark Sean Pools here. If by Whiskey is this amazing collaboration, man. I think you and I are starting to really get this vibe going. We're talking about a lot of interesting things, and it's not just political. We're using all the stuff that's happened psychologically in our world, like this woke stuff. It's a tactic. We're showing you how they're using it to manipulate you. We care about liberty. That's all we care about. Your freedom. You think your own thing, but you can't think your own thing until you know what they're trying to tell you, because you have to then step back, filter that out, and then look at the rest of it. Like, you have to look at why they are telling you what they tell you. And that's what we do. So we thank you. I have a thing called Knocked Conscious. It was named after an experience I had at 13. I shared it on a couple podcasts. I would love to talk with Joe Rogan about it, because I met Esther Hicks.
You've already been on the best show in the world. Drop the
best
mask.
ever. I can't do it. You can do it. I can do it by RFK. Look, if he would have Ronald Reagan on for an hour or two, I'd be well, I think COVID was a mistake. Nancy and I didn't even get injected, and we were well over our time. Anyway, all right.
Yes.
So thank you. But thank you everyone for joining. We're 120 people. This is amazing. I'm just so grateful. I knew this was going to be exciting. I thought 20, 30 people would be on right now, but it's crazy. So let's continue, sir.
Joe Rogan.
I'm a little
Mark Pulse.
What's that, sir?
I said, Joe Rogan, get Mark Pulse on your show.
Yeah, great. That'll just make him not do it.
Frustrated with my friend Douglas from that debate, because the word that didn't come up from the journalist that should have come up, that needed to come up, that I'm dying for it to have come up, is due diligence. It's not about expertise in that particular discussion they had. It is about whether or not due diligence has been done before reporting is being brought to the surface. And Douglas's point was, I've done due diligence before I wrote my book, and you haven't done due diligence for the amount you talk about this. And due diligence is a concept.
Yeah. So he is right a little bit. Again, I don't feel like there's ever anyone. Well, I won't say that. Most people are not 100% wrong about everything. James Lindsay is somewhat right about this. So yes, Douglas Murray has done some due diligence by traveling to the region, by seeing things firsthand. He wrote a book. He took the time to write a book about it, something Dave Smith has never done. Fine. Okay. But again, I come back to the point that if you are such an expert and you think this cause is so just, you should be able to defend it. You should be able to knock Dave down to the ground with your rhetoric, because you are so right and he is so wrong. And that did not happen.
Right. Well, due diligence. Okay. let's go into due diligence. Douglas Murray's own article, he didn't recall what he wrote, but Dave was able to recall it.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a funny moment? We should have clipped that, huh? They basically.
Ooh. I have one too. James Lindsay said, "Oh, how dare you call Douglas Murray a neocon?" And then everyone started posting the title of Douglas Murray's books, Neoconservatism, Why We Need It.
His first book, it's like one of his first books, right?
Yeah.
From
my God.
from the due diligence guy who has a bachelor's degree, by the way. Like not right, Mr. Expertise. Okay. And to your point, right? So here's his due diligence thing. So Dave Smith, let's go. He's on Rogan and he says, I think we're gonna go over 2 hours, man, because this is just such a banger.
We might have to pick it up
We might just split it.
time.
You know what? Maybe we'll split it. Yeah, I guess we'll do it. It'll still be hot in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So Dave goes on and he says, what does he say? He says, weren't you also in Ukraine? Yeah, I was embedded with the troops there, and that's when they were making gains in September in 2022. Oh yeah, the last time they were making gains. Okay. Yeah, you said something about they would win with our support, right? Oh no, I didn't say that. I didn't remember he even said I didn't say that. And then his article actually says with support. There it is, once again, trying to create those narratives. Who's being woke? Who's being woke? The transparent people who are happy to debate every topic, or these people who are playing all these smoke and mirror games?
Yeah, it really gets to the kind of the heart of what people, I guess you would call it conservative, what those people really see as their worldview. I read this book. Well, it was recommended by Andrew Heaton, who wrote Tribalism is Dumb. He references this book a lot in his book, Arnold Kling. I forgot the name of the book at this time, but it's Arnold Kling. Anyway, he says that the right or the conservatives, they tend to view everything as civilization versus barbarism, right? And so when you look at
languages of politics, possibly.
Yes, that's it.
Got lucky. First guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so he says civilization versus barbarism. That's kind of how the right tends to view the world, and that's why you see them so like up in arms against the Muslims, because they're just barbarians that want to take over and destroy the West. And you definitely see that with Douglas Murray. That's kind of his whole thing. You kind of see it in the Russia-Ukraine thing too. Like Russia's just these barbarians. They want to control everything. They want to take over Ukraine.
You see it through a British imperialism lens, is what he sees it through.
Yeah, right. So to me, then, like the woke right is taking that frame and then also applying like the left frame on top of it. The left frame, the Democrat frame, whatever you want to call it, is oppressor versus oppressed. Right. And so it's really what the woke right is to me is an overlaying of those two things. So you're looking at civilization versus barbarism, and you're overlaying oppressor versus oppressed at the same time. And to them, Jews are oppressed. They need the thing, and they have every excuse then to do whatever they want because they've been historically oppressed. Ukraine is oppressed, and because Russia is oppressing them, they have the right to take all of our money in their defense. And don't think about the details. Don't get into the nuance about it. That's really what I see as woke right, is really combining those left and right frames.
Yeah, and it is. And once again, it's more like the tactic of doing it, right? Like they've replaced people of color with the Jews. And it's like, okay, so they're the oppressed. I remember when Black Panther people spoke up and said death to Whitey and whatever, those people were arrested for saying that kind of stuff. Israel's calling Palestinians dogs and pigs, and they're and they're calling themselves the chosen people, yet they're the oppressed. I've never heard oppressed people talk so shitty about others while they talk so amazingly about themselves.
Yeah, because it's so backwards, right? Like if you look at the region, especially in Palestine, Israel is not on the defensive there. They are in control of the situation. They control Palestine. They control Gaza. They know what gets in and out of there. They have all the funding. They have all the power in that situation.
Those checkpoints were real. The blockade is real. They measure every freaking calorie that goes in that place. And even if some gets through, you're talking it's enough when they're barely able, they can't even have their own stuff. Oh, by the way, $450 billion worth of oil and natural gas are in under Gaza, and offshore there, where they're not allowed to economize it, but sure as hell we can bulldoze it. And I bet you there's going to be some fucking pumping going on pretty soon, right? Like, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by any of this, but it's shocking. And once again, I want to be clear. The Jews have been an oppressed people their entire fucking existence, okay? That's not what we are saying. What we are saying is it's 2025. People of color were also slaves in America as little as 150 years ago, 160 years ago. So let's not, like,
they have a better case
look
at this point. If you're looking at outcomes,
right?
Like Dave Smith talks about this all the time. Jews are not an oppressed people in America. They run almost everything.
And why is because they're given opportunities, and because of they're industrious and collaborative, like they're anti-fragile. It's like there's a uniqueness. Like, I grew up with a lot of Jewish kids, and man, my mom's boss was Jewish and she ran a catering company. Like I said, we got to be on the Trump Princess and got to do like Bon Jovi's drummer's wedding and all these like cool. Eric Lindros stole a food truck and we chased him down from the flyers. Like, dude, crazy stories. But like,
there's a culture there of like success, right? And a lot of them are very smart, actually.
And I sit at my dinner with my parents, and we, like, with my grandparents, they don't talk about finances. They are like, so like, our dinner conversation was very like repressed, right? Like, but I've been to so many Jewish dinners and stuff. They openly talk about their successes and failures. They're highly encouraging, but it's like competitive but encouraging. It's like this beautiful,
and they're family oriented. They'll make sure that their family members are taken care of and that they're involved in the business. It's a culture.
And to think anything, like, to think that, are there still people thinking negatively? Yeah, there are. And I would argue, like, Candace is not far off with the Kanye stuff and the stuff going on in the music industry. Like, we're finding entertainment music is very demented. That doesn't mean it's the Jewish people that were the demented ones. Just because they're in high points of power there doesn't mean that that's what it was. I'm not making that correlation by any means.
It's because people in power tend to do that.
Right. We can say the Harvey Weinstein was definitely one. Weinstein, I whatever his fucking name is anyway.
Weinstein,
right. So
opposite
we are
of
going to do this. We're going to cut it at 2, Jason, and then we'll just split it into 2. Because guess what? I think we're going to have some more ammo next week. But
I'm sure
we've got over 120 people on. It's so amazing. Thank you so much for everyone joining us. Do you want me to continue here, sir?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
That hasn't fallen out of view. Like, you looked up the Alan Shepard stuff. That was doing some due diligence on this. You vet all of the clips that you show. That's doing due diligence before you put together your show. That's actually a high standard of journalistic integrity. It's not present in Podcastistan.
My God.
More sucking off. Like, he talks up Constantine.
You looked something up online. That's our high standard in Podcastistan.
Did you see that? What was on a wiki?
Yeah, Wikipedia.
Yeah. What, did Dave have one of his people do it? Because Dave didn't do it. Dave Rubin didn't do it. Come on.
Oh, fuck no.
All right. I'm look, Dave Rubin's still what he is, but come on. All right. I had to pause it there because, like, just listening once again to this circle jerk, how it's like they're circling the wagons, and I'll have a point at the end of it.
And as Constantine kind of has poked that bear and revealed, they don't like having that mirror held up to their face, but that's because they're postmodern and don't have anything else.
Oh my God. You don't like, we have mirrors held up all the time.
What is wrong with this guy?
As if this is, again, the same thing like that woke people do, is like pretend that their view is not the mainstream view. They pretend that their views are underrepresented in the world, and that's just not the case. People want to hear from Dave Smith and other people like him because those views are underrepresented. This is all just crazy.
Right. And once again, these exact people who are in this circle jerk were all the ones who the left. Dave Rubin was a fucking lefty.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. They all, and I'm not saying Constantine. So there's 2 points. I think Constantine is part of a group called I call anti-communist. And I think that Charlie Kirk's part, Pozo. I think Pozo's part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just cannot, they will have anything but fucking communism. And I can only share this because I had this conversation with my mom. And I'm talking about all this shit that's going on. And remember, she was in Germany under Hitler, then under fucking Stalin, and then escaped. Like and then under Eisenhower. So like we're talking about someone who lived under 3 of the most unique world leaders I can attest. Okay. So hearing her talk now, she hates communism so much.
Mm-hmm.
That
As you
she's
should.
like, I will take this fascism from Trump. And it's like, you're almost there. You know what I mean? It's like, you're almost, it's like, you got to fight it all because it's all commie because it's all state run, whether it's left or right, the state takes control. You think Hitler wasn't state run? You could basically call it a communist country. Basically, it's just a dictatorship. It's central power. That's just what all that shit is. It's all the same. I wanted to share this with Zach. If you want to share that, and then read Justin's after that.
Yeah, one more thing before we get to that. I'm just reminded of the quote. I think it was Hayek who said that fascism is the stage reached after people realize communism has failed. So it's really just like a little bit loosening of the state control. You're starting to allow some private entities to take hold, a little bit of freedom. And that's why it can survive a little bit, is because people do have those opportunities. But it's still, yes, like you said, it's still basically 100% state control. It's all in the same cloud, if it's not exactly the same thing.
And if I may, hopefully we'll see him at Freedom Fest, by the way, June 11th through the 14th. Rainer Zittelmann. He is a German author. He's written like 28, 29 books. I had him on my podcast. He wrote a book, Why Democracies Are Prosper, something like that. But he did his dissertation about Hitler being a socialist. And it's like, what? Hitler was a because remember, these people, these woke left, woke right, woke people, these woke Hitler, fascism. No, it's the same as Stalin's. They are the same fucking thing. They're state. It's just a state. It's centralized. It's all and once again, this blowback is that pendulum thing going dink, dink. It's not even gentle, man. To your point, it's like literally Ron Paul's blowback. Fascism has failed communism. It makes total sense,
Yeah, absolutely. Zach says, why do you think there's an active subversion against critical nuance on subject matter with the use of expert talk? That's kind of what we're getting at, right? I think that these people have gotten into their positions and they're trying to gatekeep, as we've been talking about. But you're not an expert. You're an expert, even though, like, what is James Lindsay's expertise? I think he was a mathematician. I think that was where he came from. He was a math professor or something.
Right. And as we mentioned, Douglas Murray has a bachelor's degree.
He has a bachelor's in English, right? Not in any war or political science or anything. Like, okay. He's written some books. That is no small accomplishment. Sure.
It took him 4 years to learn how to say B.
But he's out there. He's getting awards from the Israeli government for his support of their government. So let's not pretend like he's unbiased.
Right.
The expert thing, anything else you want to say about that? Like,
yeah, basically,
why are we so concerned about experts all of a sudden?
Right. That's exactly right. Well, they're saying they were the experts being suppressed. Well, now that they're being voices and there's other experts countering them, they need to be the ones doing the suppressing. This is Nietzsche all over again. This is literally Israel. Israel has become the Nazi state because it looked into the abyss. It looked into the big abyss and it became the monster that it looked. You know what I mean? It stared too long into the abyss. This is Classic. All of it happens that way. It is such a human nature thing. And the more we know this, we can actually kind of look ahead and plan for these things to happen and logically go, we know that our reaction is going to be this, so maybe we don't actually follow because we know that that's an instinct that's not going to go in our best interest. You know what I mean? We're trying to share all these new ideas and policies. 135 people are on, man. What an amazing show. Thank you so much for everyone joining. It's a powder keg. We've got about 15 more minutes for tonight, but we guarantee we're doing a part 2 here apparently because it is just such a crazy topic right now.
I think James
and
Lindsay's
it requires
captured.
It requires
it
it for sure.
Because we're picking at these things for a reason, because they're not making sense. And when the people that have this influence are not making sense, you need someone to go in there and pick at it. That doesn't mean we're right necessarily. Maybe we're wrong.
And I don't think you and I have told anyone what to think other than to break from what they've been told to think.
Mm-hmm. Think about more things. That's my thing.
Right. And that's the point, is like, we want it all out there. We need it all because of that. So if you want to share that with everybody.
This one's really good. Yeah, I do want to talk about this. So thank you for bringing it up, Justin. He says, I think in the current Middle East scenario, it comes down to not about who is or isn't oppressed, but rather framed as a struggle between sides that are good versus evil. This is really good because I hear this so much where people, particularly people like Dave Rubin, people like Douglas Murray, will say, well, if Hamas lays down their arms right now, there's no more war. If Israel lays down their arms, they will be overrun. They will be slaughtered. And now, what do you think about that? Do you think that's true?
I mean, well, considering you and I are NAPs, if we wouldn't lay our own arms down in our own homes, so if someone with an arm came to our house, we'd at least be putting up a fight. So like, that's where you and I would do it. We don't have to stand on their neck to not have them attack us.
Mm-hmm.
To not think that is a fucking open prison. It's an open air prison with it basically had walls around it. I'm once again not have to say, but we're not justifying October 7th.
You haven't been there.
We're not justifying October 7th, people. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
But come on.
Yeah.
Like,
they think if you criticize the government of Israel, you are saying that they don't have a right to defend themselves. And I'm not saying that.
Right. And Douglas Murray said since that they've been a free state since 2005. Like, that's the claim that he made, to which Dave didn't call him, have you been to the board, like to the offshore thing where they're blockading or something? No, he said, they've blockaded everything. They've done this. They control water, electricity. But he addressed the actual issue. Like, literally the one time Douglas Murray brought up one point, Dave was like, literally was on it with exactly what's happening. It's like, and Douglas could not counter that other than, have you been there? That's where it is. So we're going to do it. It's time. We're going to do it. It's time to have been there. You and I, sir, I think we're going to launch a new venture. Are we going to do it? Should I get that website?
You want to go to Israel? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. But you know what I'm talking about is that website I shared with you.
Oh, yes.
We should do it because we've got If By Whiskey. So we should add another liquid. We should add something to that. All right. Let me share. This is okay. You know what this one is.
Wait. Hold on.
Yeah. Good.
On this topic, I think this is a false binary. This is not good versus evil. Yes, Hamas is a terrorist group. They're bad. Also, Israel can be bad. Not everyone that lives there, because I will say 99% of the people involved in this, they're just caught up in the crossfire. They don't have anything to do with it. They don't care. They would be perfectly happy living in two separate states, I think. I can't say for sure. But the people in power and the terrorist groups want revenge, right? What do they want revenge for? Well, Israel kicked a bunch of people out of their houses, out of their homes a long time ago, and they haven't forgotten. They do all kinds of things. And again, I would have to defer to other experts on this, but they do all kinds of things that are not exactly, I don't even know what you would say. They're not good. They don't respect the dignity of human life. I think that's the best way I can put it. And just because people were born in this situation where they are kind of stuck in Gaza, they're stuck and they don't feel like they have any other recourse other than to maybe vote for Hamas or support Hamas, because they're at least trying to get, broken free from these oppressors.
And to that point, I don't know if everybody knows this because not everybody listens to the crazy stuff we do, but Hamas only's had a plurality, never a popular. They've only gotten a majority, right? Not even a plurality, just a majority, barely in those districts. When Israel attacks, support for Hamas goes up, not down. So peace actually hurts Hamas.
Yeah. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it's not just the one or the other. Israel doesn't have to just drop all their weapons and say, yeah, come kill us, because that might happen. That might be true. If Israel suddenly said, okay, we're taking all of our guns out, all of our rockets, all of our defense systems are gone, yeah, they might get overrun. That might be true.
Why would they take that's not defense systems isn't a problem. Choice. Right. It's like
they can just not aggress on Gaza.
Not aggress. That's kind of the point. Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think once again, Jason, this is a great topic for another day because history is about this. Mm-hmm. Don't we reduce history to good versus evil? Stalin was bad. Hitler was bad. Churchill was good. Once again, we challenge the narrative. Churchill was good. No, there were some really bad decisions made that maybe could have changed the courses of the way things went. That's nothing wrong with that criticism. But that's not saying he's good or bad or anything. We're just looking at the whole. You know what I mean? So I think good versus evil is a very interesting topic to talk about because it is one of those ways that humans kind of do. We kind of have to look at it as binary. That's why left and right. It's like everything's binary because it makes the choice easier because we just get overwhelmed with choices. If we had too many, we wouldn't make one. So.
I think every person has good and evil within them, and
we all make mistakes. We're all fallible.
Yeah,
all fallible.
A lot of what comes out depends on your situation. Things might not have happened if certain other things didn't happen. I don't know. But Justin says they hadn't aggressed for years, then October 7th happened. So not aggressing doesn't seem to solve it either. I don't know if that's 100% true.
I can speak to that. Yeah. I'll wait. If you have a point.
I don't think that's true, but I am not as familiar with it. So go ahead.
So I don't want to get too crazy and I don't want to get conspiracy foil time, but there is a thought that October 7th was known of for a very long time. And that music festival was extended for a reason. And it was put where it was for a reason. Mike Benz talks about music festivals all the time and all their weird, like draw on popularity. It's like, why would you put your music festival next to an outdoor fucking prison? Think about that before you, okay, whatever. It's like not taunting at all. Now, once again, not justified. But the Accords were squeezing out the Palestinians. Basically, they were saying, why not do the 80% with Saudi Arabia, Israel, Jordan, and all that, and squeeze out, because it's in their best interest to squeeze out the Palestinians. And this was what I would venture a guess that this was their effort to put that on the map and show it all, because this was their last wave. Because if that got signed, literally systematically, they were just getting squeezed more and more, in their opinion, from their perspective. I don't necessarily have to take that perspective to see it, to understand it. Like we talk about seeing their perspective. So my understanding is is it the Abraham Accords? I think that's what it was, right? That whole invocation of the Abraham Accords like Russia about NATO forced the hand to react in a very evil, dark, horrible way to get to where we are now.
Yeah. And I don't know all the history, so I can't say who started it, who did it first. I really can't say. I do know that at some point it has to stop. Somebody has to be the bigger person, and right now Israel has the power in that situation. And yes, they got attacked. Yes, they have a right to defend themselves, but there's no way that wiping out millions of people is going to get them more goodwill. It's not going to end anything. So that's really my concern. I really need to learn more about this, because that's kind of the extent of my knowledge on the situation.
Let's look into that, Jason. The timeline. We can do one of those, because once again, we're open to ideas and thoughts here. This is my thought on where that is, and I think it makes sense. But what I can tell you is that 40 babies weren't fucking beheaded on October 7th. And I can also tell you that Israel used the Hannibal Directive and fired missiles at its own people at the festival. Those are just facts. You can be mad at me for all you want, but that doesn't justify what they did or excuse it, but they did that too. So like, how are we going to play this, guys? How do we want to play this? It's a fucking shitty situation, but honestly, I think it could have been played out better. That's just kind of what we're thinking. There is a way.
It's a terrible situation all around. Yeah.
And I use Ireland as an example. So I use Northern Ireland as the closest example to this. I remember the 80s and the fucking car bombs, the Irish car bombs that they had, and the armor plated cars on the border and stuff. Wasn't Sons of Anarchy? Weren't they like even in that running guns or something for the IRA and stuff? Like, it's kind of like that. Like, that was a real thing. And look at that. And they were on a little island, right? They're on a little island, and they're getting along. They're getting along just fine. They worked it out. They just do, because that's what we do. So if you have any more points before, we'll end it on the Murray thing, because we'll probably call it a day. Once again, guys, 160 people. Holy mackerel. That, Jason, thank you so much for doing this with me, man. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's been great. We got a whole bunch of Douglas Murray stuff. He went on Bill Maher that we were going to talk about, but we'll save it for next time.
We'll save it for next time. We got a whole bunch of clips.
It's good stuff.
For sure. But we definitely do want to finish on the Never Been. If we're going to finish on something, we definitely need to finish on Murray versus Murray. Because
all right.
Because this is truth. This is literally what we were talking about. The woke becoming, or was it far right becoming the woke right, a la the woke left, attacking him as a far right. And then it's beautiful. So Jason, before we call it a night, once again, Jason is over here at Drop the Mask Pod.
That's me.
Share all your stuff, man. And Calf, share it all before we call it a night. And thank you to the 160 people on tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Powder Keg, next Monday, we will be doing a follow-up to this. It's going to be part 2 of Woke Right. We might have 8 parts before we call it. So,
yeah, go find me on X at Drop the Mask Pod. That's where I'm the most active. I've got the Rumble channel, Drop the Mask, and find me on Locals, dropthemaskpod.locals.com. And we will continue this conversation on If by Whiskey next time with Mark Sean Poles.
All right, everybody. Let's play this, and then we'll say our goodbyes, my friend.
Have you been to the crossing points? I really resent that form of argumentation. When were you last there at all?
Sure.
I really resent it. You should at least do the courtesy of visiting it. This is not an attractive invitation. I think it's a good idea to see stuff, particularly if you spend a career talking about something. I have the right to talk about whatever the hell I want. And no one's going to stop me or try to intimidate me. And I think that if I said to somebody else the other way around, it would be equally reprehensible. I have a journalistic rule of trying never to talk about a country even in passing unless I've at least been there. If I said, shut up, you have no right to criticize anything that Douglas Murray says, because hang on, you're talking about crossing points. And not only have you never been to a crossing point in either Egypt or in Israel, but you've never even been to the region. Okay. It's not an exact comparison, but seriously, is that a reasonable form of argument? No. In that case, nobody can talk about anything. We might as well pack up, go home and isolate ourselves. If you're insisting that you're an expert of some kind, or not claiming you're an expert, but still talking about it, if you've never seen any of this going on. I mean, there are some people who've written about there are people who've written about the Holocaust who didn't experience the Holocaust and have written about it better than people who did. But that is a different matter from spending an awfully long amount of time talking about an issue in a region you haven't even had the courtesy to visit, whilst developing all of these views about it. This idea that the lived experience has to triumph over everything else is not always correct. You should at least know what it is, what the territory is, what the situation is in the region. So there's an irony to this, but let's skate over the irony.
Oh man, it just goes to show you nobody cares about the expert credential. They really just care that you agree with them, and if you disagree, then they will find any excuse to try to take you down. That's really it.
So once again, this has been another If by Whiskey. Jason's been drinking it. If by Woke Right. And once again, it's a banger, guys. Part 1, because we have so much more to share. But we are so grateful. 165 people join us on a Monday night. This is the biggest group, a crowd of people that have joined us. I am so grateful. I'm sure it's because of the topic. Hopefully you get a chance to go on, drop the mask. There it is, the handsome mug.
I'm sorry.
Drop the mask. Go on there. Check out his podcast. Come to mine, Knocked Conscious. Come to If by Whiskey, our collaboration. We have Consciously Unmasked. We've got the League of Ordinary Friends. We've got a bunch of them. We are just so grateful for all of you who have joined us. We will be here next Monday to hit part 2 of this thing, and we'll just have more clipping, I guess, next weekend.
One more shout out, Tyler, my buddy Tyler said Nick should be ignored. I think he's talking about Nick Fuentes.
Awesome.
He commented on here. Thank you everybody for joining. Tyler, Zach, Justin, Jesse, Aaron. Did I miss anybody?
We got Aaron. We got Jesse came in early. We got Zach. We've got Justin. We've got your buddy Tyler, who had the Fuentes comment, right? Yeah. Thank you so much to this is amazing. It's been awesome. Like, dude, it's been awesome doing this. And I'm trying not to circle jerk, but it's hard not to, man. It's just been a lot of work. We just been putting a lot of stuff into this. And like, I'm feeling like it's getting somewhere. Like I'm feeling juiced up.
We're going to get it. All
right. Before we call it a day, last thoughts on lived experience.
It can be insightful, but not necessarily. Like Douglas Murray said to himself, it's not necessary.
And that's what.
But
there he is.
There's Tyler. Great listen, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the If by Whiskey family, everybody. We plan to have an If by Whiskey, and I think I'm gonna get that. I think I'm gonna get that website, Jason. I think I'm gonna get it and
do it.
Can you do the Can you do
I'll do the magic?
Work?
I got the magic.
You have the magic, my friend.
We are starting our own podcast to stand. Thank you, Justin.
Justin, if this were a boat, no, don't get on it, man. Don't get on this island.
It's not built by experts.
Yeah, it is. It is very shoddily manufactured, my friends. But this has been once again another If by Whiskey. Please stick around. Do not leave. 170 people, 170 plus. Wow, we're gonna hit an end here. For all of you who joined us, please go to the beginning. Follow, subscribe, join, all that stuff, all the good stuff. We're gonna hit it, but Jason just did this new intro. You have to check it out. Do not leave before the end of this thing's played. Again, thank you to Roaming Bandits and Roman Garcia for that awesome music.
You better cut it. You gotta go.
We're doing it, buddy. All right. Bye, everybody.